All right, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong. I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. This is In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. And today's the 6th of June, 2025. I want to make this video to talk about what the title is. That would be fitting, right? But there is a lot to poodle breeding. So this is the whole thing, is we have a fourth of our company that is this, okay? We specialize in purebred standard poodles. Now, I've talked about how we have to come, as of today's date, our breeding program, okay? And I just want to sit here and really kind of give a good explanation on what I mean by that, I guess, because I think the big thing is a lot of people don't really realize if you're going to be breeding dogs and doing it proper, it's not like you get your dog and your friend's dog or your neighbor's dog that's cute and you get them together and have puppies and there you go, okay? You've got a litter of dogs that just came from two random dogs. When it comes to actually breeding dogs and doing it properly, right? And this is the whole thing about us under In the Image Clothing Company. If you know us at all, we are bold and blunt and raw and real, okay? We don't cater to people and whatever because people have their opinions on things. But as we talk about, there's reasons to having pure bred dogs. I think the big thing is the only way there's allowed to even be dogs, right, is if there's a breed. You know, you've got this breed, that breed, this breed, that breed, and you can look at them and know what they are. And the only way that that's even allowed to happen with so many dogs out there, if they were all just having puppies, any dog mixing with any dog, you would never be able to have even the ability to know what kind of dog you're looking at, okay? Because there would be no labeling. There'd be no way to have a specific dog be what you know of as like a golden retriever or a Dalmatian. You know, I mean, you look at a Dalmatian, because I saw one today and I was like, man, I haven't seen a Dalmatian in quite a long time. A Dalmatian's a dog that kind of has cow coloring, black and white, splotchy pattern. And those are the only two colors, as far as I know, right? At least most commonly, just black and white, and it's spotted, and it looks a certain way, okay? And same with poodles. Same with any dog breed that's a purebred dog. So when we get all bold about what we do under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, and I say the phrase, a mutt is a mutt, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feeling, or any of their feelings. I said just singular. But I'm just, you know, speaking it as it is, because this is how we have less dogs in shelters, is if we breed properly. This is how we have owners keeping dogs and not bouncing them around to other owners and other places because they didn't know what to expect, because they thought they were getting a Labrador, but it actually was mixed with a German Shepherd, and now it's got weird traits they didn't expect because it's not acting like a Labrador in the time that the traits of the German Shepherd are coming out of the dog, if you will, right? So there's a lot that comes from breeding dogs, and there's a lot that goes into breeding dogs. It's not just like, okay, you know, get the dog pregnant, feed her a little bit more than she normally would be eating, and really it's like 3 times more, right? Because now the food that you're feeding her is also going to grow the puppies that are inside of her. And then, you know, make sure the puppies get born, and not every puppy lives, right? In litters, sometimes puppies die through birth. I mean, it happens with all life forms every now and then when it does, right? But it's not just about doing that and trying to be intentional to keep the dog healthy, and then, you know, now that you have the puppies, you just play with them and they're fun, and then your friend's friend and somebody else might have maybe wanted one, and so they pay you, you know, some pocket change, and then they get a dog. And then, like, this is what I'm saying is, this happens, and it's actually damaging in so many ways. So when I talk about one of the main things we do under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles is just advocating for many things, proper breeding in this, you know, realm of what I'm talking about, and many other things, right? But this is what I mean, okay? We don't just like haphazardly put 2 dogs together and be like, oh, puppies, cute, fun, and then they get older and you're like, oh, now what do I do with it? Okay. Breeding needs to be intentional, otherwise we just end up with like orphan dogs, okay? And we end up with dogs with health problems. We end up with dogs we didn't expect in ways, even if you like intentionally, you know, had a litter, if you don't know the genetics of the two parents that you put together, then you've got dogs that come out looking and, you know, shaped and you know, temperament wise ways you didn't expect. And if we're putting dogs together to create new dogs, new life forms, you know, big dogs have up to, you know, somewhere around 10 puppies sometimes. That's a lot of dogs that just popped into the earth's existence here, okay? We're not doing this just because puppies are cute. We're doing this to further good bloodlines of healthy dogs that will live long, you know, doing what we can. I mean, anything can come up. Like I said, with litters, you know, as they're being born, puppies can die. And then dogs, even if they're healthy at young ages, they can die at any time. It's not like we can guarantee that, you know, if we're doing what we can to breed properly, our dogs will live forever, because they don't, right? But you know, what all goes into breeding is the genetics of not only the two parents that you're putting together, but their parents and their parents' parents and their parents' parents' parents, and back and back and back and back and back, right? To the first dog of that breed, right? Of that type of dog, really is where the bloodline of the dogs are coming from within the purebred, if you will. Now, here's the thing. I talk about registering dogs, okay? The need for AKC registration, okay? The American Kennel Club. There's a video under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles titled that, okay? The need for AKC registering. And the thing is, it's like giving your dog a birth certificate. If we just don't know where dogs are coming from, and we don't know where the dogs have come from as far as like their lineage, right? Their background, their genetics, their parents, their parents' parents, and so forth, right? Then we don't really know much about the dog, about how long it will live, about the health conditions and problems that it might already just have at birth that could have otherwise maybe been like selectively bred out, right? To help the dogs, really, not just us, not just our pocketbooks because of vet visits, but the dog itself. And man, we're gonna do so much, okay, as we go under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. And I just want to make it really clear, when we breed dogs and do it properly as breeders, okay, not just people who, you know, decide to have litters, it really is so potentially damaging. It's not like we have some prestigious opinion over our dogs are going to win the dog show and they're so high, you know, and your dogs are just disgusting. No, there's reasons to it. The undisputed reasons that everybody benefits from. The owners, the dogs, the people that do work at the shelter, the animal control people, the people who own apartments complexes that people are renting with the dogs inside, right? And the people who own the homes that somebody else is buying or renting, or the realtors, right? Or people just outside who are living their life, and all of a sudden some random misbehaved mixed breed dog, because it's just a mutt, I'm not being offensive, but it's just the case, it comes up to them and bites somebody's hand, right? Because it just doesn't behave the way that it would naturally, since it's mixed in an unnatural, selected way, okay? So when you breed puppies, once the puppies are born, you've got so much stuff that you really should do, okay? Before the puppies are born, you've got so much stuff that you really should do. And before you even pick two dogs to put together to breed, to have a litter, there's a lot that probably should be done. So the biggest thing is register your dogs, okay? And we will, okay? I've talked about it. Under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, every single one of our dogs in our breeding program will be registered, okay? Because then we know what the dog is. We know what the potential colors of coat the dogs might have as far as their puppies. We know any health conditions to then be aware of. There's a mini poodle, no joke, an apricot mini poodle with a dude and a stroller and a leash. Yeah, on this trail, I'm not kidding. Right as I was saying that. And we specialize in standard size poodles though. I love the big dogs. I'm tall, I'm 6'2" tall, so a lot of that is very beneficial because, you know, what we do under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company and allow the human body to work through clothing. So, right, tall dogs for tall people are easier on the body of both, actually. The dog looking up as well, right? So and not having to jump up, and then the dog will jump up on you less as well, because it's already like closer to you than a small dog. And we talk about this too, you know, under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. Yeah, sizings of dogs. We do a lot here, bro. So stick around. But what I was saying though about us registering our dogs is, yeah, there are genetic health conditions that are common in some breeds, right? And not in others. Some breeds just have eye problems that come up pretty commonly. Some breeds have hip problems that come up pretty commonly. Some breeds have cancers in certain ways, right? And all these things that just kind of come the way they come, you know? I mean, animals naturally just have things that they deal with that other animals don't, right? And then within specific breeds of animals, same thing, like I'm saying here. So a lot of that's not like a problem, right? It's natural. It's natural to have problems in life, right? But what we can do is try to find the healthiest dogs that we can to breed. And we can only do that through having a record of the dog's DNA. And that's only going to be able to come through registering your dogs, unless you've just got like paperwork in a drawer somewhere and you've been breeding dogs for like, well, even that, right? How long? Because dogs only live about 10, 15 years, and you as a human being only live, you know, 8 or 9 times that, maybe. Like, you know what I mean? We have to have a database and a background to be able to pull from to know how to keep our dogs healthy. So this happens before we ever breed a dog, okay? Just as breeders in general. And then now you've selected 2 dogs, okay? Because you want to get the proper sizing, so you know at least mostly what size your dogs will be, right? I mean, you can have poodles come out, or any puppy of any breed, you know, and have surprises in coat color, in size, in health problems. Like I was saying, maybe some dogs don't make it. Maybe the entire litter doesn't make it. That happens sometimes. It doesn't even get born, right? The dog goes through their pregnancy. For a poodle, it's about 2 months. And let's say right at the end, all the dogs just, they die before they even get born. That happens, you know? But yeah, you select the dogs that you select for the reasons you do. Coat color, sizing, coat type, meaning like the fur, or in poodles' case, the hair. Okay, poodles, they continue to grow like human beings. They have hair rather than fur. You see what I mean? There's a lot that goes into this. I mean, in a lot of ways, you can actually, you know, pretty well expect the way that your poodles are going to look before you even have them born, by having genetic testing done. And the reason why that is good is because then, you know, it's just humbling, man. What we're really going to do, we are going to be in this whole poodle realm, okay? We're not just going to do like a little bit of dabbling with poodles because it's fun to have a pet. I'm not, you know, saying that that's wrong to just have a pet, but for us, that's not what we're doing. Just to make it clear, we're going to really get into this for my whole life, Evan Strong, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and we're gonna do a lot with it. So yeah, I mean, once your poodles are born, right, now you've got deworming, okay? They're just animals, just like human beings. We have pesticides and things that end up in us at times, right? So that happens, right, to prevent the dogs from having parasites and things in their bodies, right? And vaccinations, you know, the goal is natural under all 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company. So when it comes to things like that, you know, vaccinations, it's only going to be what's really needed, okay? And that's up to us as, you know, the owners of the company, right? I mean, on what we do with those things, and the legal system of where we're at, right? But you've got that, and you know, there's a lot that you do as the puppies are really young. They've got dew claws that is like a little claw that isn't really necessary in modern day when we have pets the way that we do, right? Because dogs aren't like wolves where they need to have the same approach to life, I guess, is what we'll say, you know, living in the wild versus living in our care as their owners. And so, you know, sometimes we remove the dew claws of the dogs, which is just, right, it's like a separate claw kind of up the arm of the dog a little ways. You can dock tails, right? And there's times and places for things, as I say, where they cut the tail shorter. There's a lot of reasons to that. There's a lot of opinions on that, right? But you do that at birth almost always if you're going to. And microchipping dogs, right? All of our dogs will be microchipped before they go to their new homes, as I've talked about, because we're doing all that we can when we breed our dogs before they ever get out of our, like, ownership, if you will, as the breeders, to really set them up to just have a really proper life, not get lost, not get you know, taken, and yeah, there's a lot, dude. So all these things happen as a puppy, you know, and you have to introduce the puppy to food. You know, it goes from drinking its mother's milk for the first part of life, and then you introduce it into food slowly, you know, and make the food really nice and soft and easy for the dog to eat. We rehydrate kibble anyway, because kibble's unnaturally dehydrated, okay? The water's been extracted from it. Even human beings, we talk about eating naturally under the main side of the Image Clothing Company. Just dehydrating stuff that we eat is unnatural. There's water content in things, you know? But the puppies really need to be slowly introduced to adult food, like a kid, like a little child of a human being. You give them, you know, little baby food before they can eat more solid foods. It's like raising a kid. So there is a lot that happens. And when the mom's pregnant, like I was saying, you feed the dog like 3 times, give or take, more than you would anyway. You know, if the mom wasn't pregnant, because she has to grow the puppies inside her. And so there's supplemental things that you can give the mom, right? Nutrients to aid in the growth of the puppies inside the mom before the puppies are even born. And then again, you know, once she's milking you know, feeding the dogs with her milk, you can still feed the mother maybe a little bit more nutrient-rich food than you would normally, because the puppies are growing, right? And they're in that very early stage of life where they need all the nutrients to set them up for life, you know, to build their foundation of their body to be strong, to grow a good, full, healthy life, right? So these are all things just right at the very beginning. And then one thing you also do, right when you I mean, you want to start really young. It's like a baby or a child of a human being. If puppies just are never introduced to things in life, then they'll grow up having this view on what life is, and then they'll start to act out when they see things they weren't used to. So it's really good to have puppies at a very young age be hearing loud sounds like fireworks and like clapping, yelling, engines and motors, and, you know, being introduced, if you can and where you can, to weather conditions, right? Rain and wind and thunder. These things scare dogs a lot of the time, and these things are stuff that sometimes dogs, for most of their life, or maybe even their whole life sometimes, just like avoid. And then you've got a dog that doesn't really do everything so well. And that's our goal with our breeding, is creating just well-rounded, do-everything dogs, right? In the Image Clothing Company clothing is do-everything clothing. It's stuff that you don't have to ever have to, right? Like decide, I'm gonna wear this outfit because it's gonna work best for this thing. It's no, you buy In The Image Clothing Company products and you can do everything in them. And that's how we want our dogs to be, right? Because we are what we are under In The Image Clothing Company. And minimal, simplistic, natural, right? And so if our dogs can just go everywhere and do everything with us, especially being a standard size poodle, very physically capable dog just because of its size. And, you know, as of this time period, that they're the second smartest dog breed statistically on the earth. So they're just very capable. And we want to make sure we do all that we can as the breeders to, like, really hone in on that, I guess, right? Just make the dog how it's supposed to be under the standard of the purebred standard size poodle, right? So sizings and proportions and look and health and all the things that go into like I was saying, you know, selecting the dogs that you will breed for the litters. Now, we need to introduce the dogs to all these things that I'm talking about at a young age, because by the time they come home to you, right, whoever you are filling out in the Image Clothing Company Poodles application to potentially end up with one of our puppies, we want to have done, you know, quite a lot by that point, like 8 weeks old of life, okay? However, like right around there, however old they really do end up being when you specifically end up with one of our puppies, we want to have already done a lot of good things for the dogs, right? Handled them and experienced the, you know, sights, okay? The dogs need to experience sights, not only sounds, but they got to see things in the world. And, you know, if we'll do all that we can, like get dogs used to car rides. I mean, that's like a motion sickness type of potential thing, right? I mean, some people get motion sick in cars, and other people are just naturally okay with it, or because they've been acclimated to it, right? So that's the thing. If we can do all that we can, meaning that's our intent under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, to really give our puppies a lot of experiences before they ever come to their home with you guys, you know, with the actual lifelong owner of the dog. So a lot of this is, man, a lot of this is a lot, I guess is what I'm saying, where we are reputable as In the Image Clothing Company. Like what I say, you know, when I discuss the anatomy of the human body, I say that's why our videos are so long, is because I discuss things in such depth to where you can trust the information we're giving. Don't believe us, right, as I say, but there's no way to dispute that what I'm talking about is correct, because it lines up and you can just see it. And so that's how it's going to be with our puppies as well, right? Like documenting stuff like this under video and doing all these, you know, early life stage things for the puppies, to where we'll just be reputable as a breeder, and not just so that we can get puppy sales, right? And that is one thing. I mean, definitely, you know, for sure. But because we want to be a big name, really, actually, in the Image Clothing Company Poodles, when it comes to, you know, like I said earlier at the beginning, like the realm of poodles, there's a lot of stuff that we can do. Like I just kind of keep saying it sort of vaguely, because it's going to be really cool, you know, organization wise, you know, where people will know of In the Image Clothing Company Poodles as a name that really kind of stands up against, you know, improper breeding and poor ownership of dogs. Man, a lot of people, they just don't know how, is the big thing, right? And so we'll do a lot of just, you know, free information on how to really be a good owner to your dog, man. But anyway, yeah, with the breeding, it's a lot, man. And I think that the cool thing about it is it's documented. We have this place here, as I say, the gift of video, and it's fun. I've been watching other dog breeders on the internet, okay? And it's cool to watch, you know? I mean, it really is. If you like dogs a lot, then yeah, you know, you might never be breeding dogs yourself, and ideally just don't do it if you're not going to do it proper, which that's what this video is, right? It's showing how much really goes into this when you're actually going to do it, how it should be done. No opinion there, right? And it's cool to be able to watch, you know, and just kind of hang out with us, maybe, you know, just like behind a screen, right? But like being able to be a part of it in a way. And then you come to In the Image Clothing Company Poodles Poodle Parade events, right? Where we have any size of purebred poodle or poodle mix, and we get together hanging out, man. And then that's when we can all, yeah, really just kind of have a good time together. Because that's what I mean when the organization wise, we're not just we're not distant. I think that's a big thing within the Image Clothing Company. As I've said since the founding, it's a community, you know, and since we are and will always be doing a lot of events where we are seriously in person with people, it's not just like, you know, you look up some website and, oh, wow, there's a poodle breeder. You give them a phone call. You guys have any puppies? Yeah, all right, I'll come over. You bring your money, you do the exchange, and you've got a dog. it's something you can follow along with under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. You know, I've said we'll do all that we can to film every litter that gets born. That's cool, because that's something I've been able to watch. Like I was saying, watching these other breeders, I never had seen puppies get born, you know, at least not really, until, I mean, maybe I had. Yeah, I saw it on a TV show actually one time. But yeah, it's cool. That's, well, again, if they wouldn't have filmed it, I wouldn't have been able to see it, right? I've never seen it in person in real life. And so the gift of video, man, you can watch these puppies be born. You can watch what it really is like to have a dog enter into the world, right? And a whole litter. And then, man, I just love it, man. Because this is the whole thing within the Image Clothing Company. As I say, we do have four sides to us, and in no way are we spreading ourselves thin, even though we do things that kind of seem like, you know, quite a few different things. Because what it is really is just the lifestyle that I have, I've just put into company form, okay? And that's why I say it's more of a community than a company. Other than, yeah, good products available as well, right? Clothing, dog products, poodles, the things that we sell, yeah, they're gonna be great always. But, you know, it's more about just like come along with our life, you know, and man, poodles are really, really, really cool, man. So anyway, with the breeding, there's a lot to it, bro. So I think a big takeaway is not that I'm necessarily wrapping this up, but don't try to think that, you know, just because you've heard that you can make money breeding dogs, or because somebody else did it, or because you think puppies are cute, then you can just go off and breed puppies without knowing what you're doing. Don't do that. Don't do that. And don't let me tell you what to do, but I'm telling you not to do that. Because, oh man, there's a lot that needs to be done if we want it to even be a good experience. Otherwise, it ends up being so expensive, right, with medical stuff for the dogs. Maybe you have, because this is the other thing, yeah, maybe you have dogs that get born, and then you have the litter for like 3 months. And all of a sudden you've got these 3-month-old dogs, like, oh my goodness, nobody has bought these dogs. And now you've got, like, you know, 4 out of your 7 dogs from the litter that's just like big now, and you weren't expecting that, and you don't know what to do. It's like, nobody wants these dogs, what in the world? And you put the money into breeding them and raising them to this point, you know, and now nobody's bought the dogs. And so that's really the big thing. Is it is ideal to have all of your puppies, you know, ready for homes, like right off the bat. You don't want your dogs to be born and then be like, all right, scrambling to like, who wants these dogs? I've got these dogs now. Somebody's got to like purchase my dogs. Otherwise, what do I do with this many puppies right now when I've already got the other dogs? You know, it's like not ideal. So that's really the goal, is really lining up homes for the dogs so that they're just ready to go, right? The litters come and just right off the bat, you know, they're pretty much just to their new homes, you know, once they're old enough to go there. So yeah, doing this properly is not something that, well, it's like, you know, it's like what I was thinking about making an In The Image Clothing Company podcast episode titled, "It Doesn't Happen by Accident," right? Just the things that we do under In The Image Clothing Company, like how the body works, you know, and just having our lives will be centered around the gospel of Jesus Christ, you know, and just be, you know, having good full lives. It doesn't happen by accident. And you don't get cute, healthy, smart, well-behaved, long-living dogs by accident. It comes through very, very specifically and properly and preparatorily, okay? I want to say it like that because there's a lot of preparation that goes into it before the dogs are ever even a thing that got born, right? It takes all these things to really have good dogs. And so, again, that's the thing about us being a big name is for the impact. And gosh, this is crazy because, yeah, for the spread of what we can do, advocating and really kind of like changing the game in a lot of ways, truly. You know, I put the quotes because I don't want to like be talking ourselves up, but I just want to be saying it as it is. That's what we're doing. We're going to be a big name in dogs, a big name in poodles, because in a modern, overly saturated world in all the ways that it is, and one of the ways being so many dogs just being bred and you know, puppies coming out all over the place because they're cute and you know, quick cash. We're gonna be one of those really good breeders, don't take my word for it, but right, that really shows how it should be done and why. A lot of why, right? There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Context Over Content. And I just talk about all the time how we give such deep context. As I was saying earlier with our long videos, you know, we just show things in depth, we discuss things in depth, we do things thorough. Me personally, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, that's how I approach things. I don't really care about much of anything in life, and so the things that I do care about, I just like dive into. Yeah, and it's just apparent, right? Don't think I'm trying to like claim something, because I couldn't, right? We have it there for you to see. That's what I'm saying. So that's what's gonna make us a big name in Poodles, okay? In all the ways that comes to being, man. And it's just gonna be so really so good and great and fun. A lot of it's just gonna be really fun. Just, you know, my love of Poodles is what's going into this to begin with. So yeah, there's just so much, man, that really comes you know, into this and goes into this and you know, is behind all this. So yeah, okay, because you register your litters, you know, when they're born, and then now these dogs could potentially be bred with other registered dogs to have proper litters in the future. And then as we give our dogs to people, right, we will either be giving them with, you know, partial rights or full rights, as far as, you know, like with a registered dog, you have to have breeding rights to be able to breed the dog, or else you can't. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into this. And so, yeah, yeah, okay, because we will have contracts in place in all the ways that we do, right? Because I've talked about guardian homes where if we've got quite a few dogs in our program, I'm not gonna have like 20 dogs at our house. That's not gonna happen, because the whole point of breeding the dogs isn't just to have like litters popping out all over the place. It's because we're trying to do what I'm saying, you know, be a good name in Poodles, be, you know, something that people can come to in the Image Clothing Company Poodles for good information on proper breeding. And so dogs that are in our program still will be living at other people's houses in ways that will make sense as it happens, okay? But guardian homes and you know, we'll have the dogs in our possession for like a few months at a time while, you know, the puppies are being born, and then they'll go back to the guardian home, and, you know, 3 litters per each mom, as we've talked about. And then again, contracts always in place where the moms will be spayed, where they can't have puppies anymore because it takes a toll on the mom, right? And these are things that I've said quite a few times, really, in the ways that I have. But there's nothing wrong with that, because I really want to just document this, you know, as I go. And even if things are repeated in times, stuff like this is not a problem, you know, to be repeating, because this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. So, you know, even though we've got hundreds of videos, if you haven't seen, you know, one of the other ones that mentions something, if I mention it in here, that's good for you to now know as well, right? Yeah, so when the puppies are being raised, man, it's big. You know, you got to keep the puppies clean and healthy. They're sensitive to things like a baby. You know, you don't want to be touching babies without washing your hands, you know, holding babies and feeding babies. Same with the puppies. And there's a lot that goes into this, dude. And so I think one of the big things I'm saying as well with this is, you know, we don't have any puppies being bred yet. But it's good to have this now, regardless of when the puppies come, because of what I'm saying, the credibility. We're not going to be doing things haphazard. We're not going to be changing our values, our morals, you know, what we were saying at the beginning once time goes on. Just as, you know, what I've been saying on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company is the same stuff since the founding. It will always be the same. So, again, what's going to make us a big name in Poodles, okay? Truly. So, yeah, man, I love it. I love the ability to share this. I really enjoy watching other people's experiences. A lot of times we actually get fulfilled to such a high degree by watching other people do what they enjoy and being able to share our fun times and even the hard times as well when it comes to breeding dogs, right? Because almost no doubt we're going to lose puppies here and there, as in they're just not going to make it. They're going to die before they get to go to new homes, right? We can't guarantee that. It's just an animal. It's just a life form. It happens with human beings. It happens where it does. And it happens for the reasons it does. And there's always a reason, really. Yeah, truly. And so being able to share all this is such a gift. I know how much I enjoy it. Like I was saying, watching other people's experiences with stuff that maybe I would never do, but I really love to be able to see. And that's the thing, is maybe there's people, maybe you're one of them. You don't want to ever breed dogs, but you're interested in it. You're fascinated by, wow, yeah, I never realized, that there's so much that goes into this. Yeah, and then you can learn about it through In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. So it's going to be really cool. I think one of the biggest things is our home experience with our dogs will always be like a home experience, okay? It's a little motorcycle over here. I'd probably keep being in the mic unless it turns. I think it's turning over there. A lot of times, if people are breeding dogs, they'll have their dogs be in a place that's kind of like a factory, okay? We are just going to have a home experience for our dogs. So, right, like our personal dogs and also just like the adults, in the program that are living with us at the time, they'll just be living their lives with us. We're not just gonna have like some like boxed up kennel place where there's dogs and then we just feed them through like this fence and no. We're gonna just have the dogs living with us because they're our dogs, dude, regardless. And then also what that helps with is, man, gosh, it hits me, dude, because they're just family members, dude. These are our dogs. They're gonna be living with you anyway. So that when we have them, meaning your puppies that you're going to be purchasing from us, when we have the adults, oh my gosh, this is crazy, dude. That's what I mean. We're gonna be a big name in poodles because a lot of people just approach it in a way that's not so natural, okay? In a way that's not a good, like heart-to-heart relationship, and it's more of like a business. But that's what I've been saying, and I said it within this about what we are under In the Image Clothing Company. We're not a business, we're a community. So we're not a dog breeder, we're just, yeah, we are. I don't want to say we're not, but we're not like some, factory breeding place. We are, yeah, just people who love poodles. And man, that's really what makes or breaks it is your heart in it. A lot of people do stuff like this for the money, and by no means, okay? So yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, okay? Yeah. So there you go, okay? I don't want there to ever be a question on like the reasons behind it. What's our motive for breeding dogs, right? If we just think it's going to be something that could, whatever. No, it's just out of love for the breed of standard poodles. And there's a lot, man. There's a lot of coat colors of poodles, right? There's like 11, give or take, colors of poodles. And then you've got party poodles that are multicolored. And then you've got within multicolored poodles, different types, like phantom poodles, tuxedo poodles. Oh my goodness. Just like the way that the colors mix and mesh with each other. There's a lot to this. So it's not a like take it lightly kind of thing for anybody who's ever gonna take it at all, right? So, yeah, it's cool, dude. Because what'll be really great too is in the ways that we can, we can incorporate our own past dogs into our future bloodlines. And that's something that, like I'm saying, there's a lot that goes into. So you don't want to be like mixing dogs and dogs, like interbreeding, family members with other ones, right? And so again, this stuff couldn't happen. You couldn't be intentional about those things that can bring on health problems themselves if you don't have the history, right? The registration, the DNA testing, and the documentation. So we're strict with it, right? If you know In The Image Clothing Company at all, I say stuff like that when I say things like this, we're bold, bro. I said it earlier a little bit, but we are a little bit harsh sometimes for the reasons that I've discussed in this, is a lot of them. I mean, yeah, yeah, big responsibility on us, and yeah, there you go. Okay, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So hang out, I think, is the thing, and that's kind of how I end a lot of these videos a lot of the time. You see me, I sat back like this, I kind of settled in rather than having it just be so information filled toward the end here. It's kind of just, really one of those videos where it's like, look, I mean, we're doing this for a big reason, and there's a lot of things that happen in life, man. There's things like the Canine Good Citizen awards that dogs can, be awarded, and then that can help you with a lot of things in life, as the owner of a dog, because your dog will be allowed to go places with you that maybe otherwise wouldn't be allowed. Kind of like how if your dog's a service dog, it can be allowed in places that other dogs just aren't allowed to be in, right? Because your dog's gone through training and your dog has certificates, your dog has licensing and registration, truly, right? I mean, like, this is really, really big, what all this really is, what all really goes into breeding, because a lot of these things can't happen if it doesn't start from the birth of the dog. A lot of times you can't get your dog certified in these ways if it wasn't first registered as a a newborn puppy from registered parents. Okay, so no kind of prestigious thing. I mean, in some ways we might be doing things that really are sort of just prestigious things, maybe, right? That's up to us. But as far as why we're so bold on the things that we are, okay, big things, bro. Big things too. I mean, as in, we're going to be doing big things. I've got, not expectations, but high expectations, if you can see what I'm saying, of what we're really going to do with all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. Yeah, it's a lifelong thing for me, man. And then, however, if ever it continues after I'm no longer here. So it's gonna be really cool, dude. There's a lot of avenues of life that people don't really know. A lot of people have dogs, but they don't really know all the intricacies of like dog shows and the behind the scenes stuff of, oh my goodness, there's a bug. I just didn't want to get a mosquito bite if I could catch it before it bit me. There's a lot, man. There's dog competitions. There's a lot of the events of stuff that we will be doing is really informational stuff more than like showy type stuff. And so, yeah, man, it's like it's kind of like one of those, rescue programs, even though we're not like rescuing poodles necessarily, or it's like one of those like rehabilitation centers, or, people spreading awareness for things. That's a lot of what In The Image Clothing Company Poodles is and always will be. And that starts at the start, okay, at the breeding. And man, I love it. I love it. Because I'm not like so hyped on puppies, right? But I'm focused on playing the long game. And that's what I say. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled Playing the Long Game. And that's how I've set up all the foundational stuff for what we are, because In the Image Clothing Company is less than a year old as of today's date. All of what it is, right? All four sides. So, which, right, In the Image Clothing Company's main side, we allow the human body to work through clothing and clothing sales, okay, is one thing we'll have. In the Image Clothing Company music, I'm a musician. I play fingerstyle guitar. I show sizings and setups of instruments and how to make music naturally as a human being, right? Physically doing things. And yeah, bro, we've got a lot that we do, right? And then I've talked about In the Image Clothing Company Poodles throughout this, and then In the Image Clothing Company podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We get deep and blunt there, bro. So we're on 130 episodes as of today's date of that. So this is what I mean, where I'm playing the long game with this. I'm not expecting like success. And that's what I meant when I said I've got high expectations without like expecting things. If you can see what I'm saying, okay? We're gonna do really big things, and I don't have like expectations of what that's going to look like exactly, other than I'm gonna keep pushing into this, and we're gonna do it properly with factual, truthful, backed, intentional, right? Intentions behind everything that we do under all four sides, okay? So we're not just like casually breeding dogs. Never are we ever going to approach dogs, poodles specifically, because that's what we deal with casually under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. No, okay? I mean, every meal we feed our dogs, we're gonna be intentional about, okay? Every time we hydrate our dogs, what water do we give them? Some water is filled with a lot of unnatural things to purify it that's actually damaging, right? Oh man, you know, and then if you know In the Image Clothing Company dog products, then obviously, right, collars, leashes, harnesses, keeping them just unrestricting to the dog. So intentional, always. That's what we are. A big name in poodles, truly, okay? And man, you know, it's gonna be sweet, always. Not like somewhere down the road it's gonna be sweet. It's cool where it is now, because even if we never actually had dogs and I just sat here and gave information like this, it's just cool, bro. Cool to be able to do this stuff, and really sweet, bro. It's so cool. Oh my gosh. All right, I think that's probably what I'll say in this video. Expect big things without like expecting stuff from us. If you can see that. I love to word things on both ends, right? We talk about it, the paradoxical gospel of Jesus Christ. I talk about things on both ends, and it sounds like I've just contradicted myself, and in a way I have, but they're also both, you know, as valid of points on each end. So yeah, big things, and big things. And that's the thing, is a lot of what comes from this, videos like this on things that we haven't done yet, not like making claims of, you know, hypotheticals, things that we're gonna do, right? I mean, just things that we are already, but having these videos here and having, oh my gosh, it hits me so hard. Like I'm saying, I'm playing the long game. I'm in this for life. And so we need help with stuff where we do, right? People that have 30, 40, 60, whatever it is, years of experience of breeding behind them, or like dog training, dog grooming, because you got to groom poodles. Their hair just will continue to grow, right? And then all the other things that come with grooming, right? Teeth and nails and ears, okay, of dogs. All of these things, man, there's going to be people that can help us out with these things along the way, connections that we can build, and we can help each other out in ways, right? Us talking about other people doing things well helps them, and then other people will talk about us doing things well, and that'll help us, because those people that talk about us maybe have like people who know about them, or connections in ways that can help all of us, right? And so that's a big thing with making videos like this, giving context on things to come, with you know, no idea of, on my part, let's say, of when they will exactly. I'm setting things up to where there's no end to this, right? In modern day, there's such quick success that people are trying to get. And being a disciple of Jesus Christ, as I am, Evan Strong, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and as we are as In the Image Clothing Company, all four sides, we know what it's like to, to live for life after this life, to work for something that isn't here yet, okay? And so laying these groundworks and laying these foundations and talking about things the way that I do now, even if these things don't happen until then, whenever that is, these are eternal as well, right? As I say, the videos I make, our intentionality behind them is for them to last forever. And so these aren't only just like, hey, yeah, we'll make some videos now and then later we'll update them. No, this video could just live forever. And so playing the long game and all the things that we do under In the Image Clothing Company, because it's never going to die out, right? We're not going to do things that are fads or hype type things that last for a time and then just don't last anymore. We're going to do things that just will always be applicable. And when I say that, again, we have already, oh my gosh, it hits me, dude. I have been given the way to approach this that is just the right way. It's so cool. So yeah, cool stuff, dude. Yeah, because I mean, we're not about money, dude. And so, we're about movements. We're about allowing the human body to work. We're about proper, healthy dogs. We're about prolonging the life of our natural earth and our natural dogs and our natural functionings and just nature, right? So stuff that's not conditional. In fact, it's actually more on the other end. The stuff that we do under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, it's kind of like we're going back in time with a lot of things. We're taking things like back to basics, if you will, truly. I mean, that's what we do. And so, yeah, right? Stuff that, in a lot of ways, we oppose modern things, right? A lot of times they'll come out with what they call breakthroughs of feeding for dogs and ways to, get dogs' pregnancies to be like this and that. That's, man-made, if you will, right? I mean, we get involved with things and we damage things as human beings. If we can take ourselves out of things and do things on the back end, right? The paradox, like we say, then that's when things actually last, because the stuff that's here before us will be here after us. So we're just kind of placed here in between. We really mess things up as human beings, all of us. So if we can learn how to uninvolve ourselves in seriously, then that's really helpful. So when it comes to just all of our poodles, In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, letting dogs stay natural. Okay, that's the slogan for this fourth of the company. And I'm gonna learn along the way, right? I mean, definitely make so many mistakes as I go. But man, mosquitoes, bro. Gosh, man. Yeah, there you go. Cool, and cool. Because our events, when it comes to poodle parades, it's like the state of Utah, right, is this, where I am, United States of America. Mountains, deserts, lakes, canyons, everything, forests. I mean, we've got basically every type of environment here. Snow in the winter. And so we want our dogs well versed, dude, and taking dogs out like this in an environment that they would be if they were wild dogs, right? If they were just animals on the earth, just like human beings, if we were just what we are before our man-made societies. That's what I mean, bro. We're taking things back to basics and just having a real good connection with dogs, man. A lot of what happens too is when puppies are growing as, very small dogs, their bodies are in a state where they need to be, like I'm saying, really unaltered, really set up for success, really just properly raised in all that we can do. And that's what we're gonna do always, right? Oh my gosh. That's it's advocating, bro. Advocacy. It's the proof is in the pudding. Look at what we do. We show it on video. We document it. We're not perfect, but right. But what I am saying with that is, a lot of times people will put collars on dogs at such a young age, and it'll affect the way that their spine could grow, or their neck, their trachea, or the skin around their neck, or their ability to lift their head, or their eyes to even open. right? So we're gonna be just so intentional about all the things we do for adult dogs. That can only actually benefit you to the extent that it can if you've bought like a dog, or just adopted a dog or rescued a dog, received a dog that's 2-3 years old. Whatever that dog's been through from birth until 2 or 3 years old, that's gonna stick with the dog for life. And so that's why it's such a sensitive time, man, when puppies are really young, where it's beautiful that we are who we are as In The Image Clothing Company when it comes to breeding poodles as well, because we know the human body in such depth, right? And we know how to unrestrict and maybe just, not restrict in the first place for those of us who, have kids after we've learned what we talk about under In The Image Clothing Company, right? The human body. And so same with the dogs. This is what I'm saying, bro. Playing the long game. This is not expirable content by any means. No. And so it's a gift though, bro, big time, all right? Standard size poodles, they're big, expect it, right? I mean, if you're ever gonna think about getting a large dog, it's a large dog. I was walking over here and I saw a standard size, dog like that. They're big, bro. A lot of times people will call big dogs, they'll label something a big dog and it's like an Australian Shepherd or something. And I used to see that in the past, think those dogs were big, but no, those are medium-sized dogs, right? Like a mini poodle, a lot of times people would call a big dog, comparing it to a lot of modern little lap dogs, right? So no, a mini poodle is the medium size is what I'm saying, right? So they're pretty big, they are, okay? 15 inches or taller at the withers, which is the top of the shoulders, is what a standard size poodle is. And so, right, 15 inches at the top of their shoulders, and their head comes above that, you've got a good sized dog, dude. And there's a lot of benefit to that for physical health of the owner. And man, capability of these animals, man. We need things to be capable. We need to pull our own weight, I mean, not talking down on people who have conditions or problems, but we're designed to work, okay, as human beings. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled that. And dogs as well. And a lot of times nowadays, dogs just can't even, operate. And then the physical size, when dogs are bred down in size, that plays into it as well. But we're doing this, bro, and we're doing it so well, really though, okay? I just don't want to be like self-proclaiming, but that's why I'm documenting, because we're getting into the back end. We're getting into depth on the things that we get into deep depth on, okay? There's a lot that goes into breeding poodles, okay? So stick around, brother. I just, because I picture the events, right? And, coming meeting up places like some big open place like this, and we've got stuff set up where we've got a lot of information. We've got, oh my gosh, a lot of advocating, brother. We live in a world where there's a lot of pollution, okay? And what we can do is a lot of movement type things. I used to talk about at the very beginning, the very founding of In The Image Clothing Company, when we just had our first main side with clothing and the human body and allowing it to work, right? I would talk about, like, we'll do movement walks, and we will. I just haven't been saying those kind of things quite that way. But with our dogs, we'll do that type of stuff, okay? We've got cameras nowadays and our modern devices. People can come and document and film and share what we do. We take our dogs out places where there's rivers and where there's wildlife and where there's nature. And a lot of it will be such eye-opening things to people who live in cities, getting people back to nature. Dogs help with that. And gaining a lot of perspective for a lot of people that just maybe wouldn't otherwise have it. I will say this, if this just cuts off, the storage space might have run out. This is a long video, and I love that for the sake of the documentation of what this is, and at the time period in our progression of In The Image Clothing Company Poodles as well, right? Again, continuity and where our credibility really comes from. We've been saying the same things the whole time, okay? So You know, a lot of movement type stuff though, yeah, where that's what I mean by advocating and events. Shoot, bro. Here's the dogs right here. These people actually come over to this park often. I think I'm not gonna say I think, I know it. They're trainers, and they help other people train their dogs, you know, similar things, okay? We debunk myths of a lot of things that are causing dogs to have a hard time being trained well, okay? So all these things, it's, we're really, it's like, you could use the word like foundation or, right? Something like that. We're a lot here, actually. We really are. And I love this, man, because there are standard sized poodles right there. Well, one, actually. That's the dog I was saying when I was walking over here. Because they hang out at this park and they just walk around for a few hours and teach people like heel positions and, see what I mean? Similar stuff like this in the Image Clothing Company Poodles. These guys are doing good things, man. It's a big dog, bro. You got some standard sized poodles that are like a little bit extra large, especially the males. They get big sometimes. Yeah, that's one of those things. You need to know what you're getting yourself into, right? And that's, again, when there's a lot to the breeding program of In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, there's a lot to like the application process where I've made it very clear we will deny some people if it comes to it, definitely, right? It's not about if you have the money to purchase the dog, you get the dog. No, no. We're going to be a big name in poodles because we're going to do things right. And so, oh my gosh, the events, bro, the events, just expect it. I mean it, without like putting expectations, expect it. I love Utah. I love the mountains. I love the mountains. I'm gonna say that twice because we've got a lot of desert stuff. Yeah, Utah is a desert, like the whole state, even though we've got a lot of different terrain. But man, I mean, even not only just advocating for dogs, but advocating for nature through dogs and ownership of an animal that would just be natural. There is more than one poodle there, standard size, actually, yes. That dog in the front is also a standard size poodle, bro. Yes, I mean, yes. That's what I'm talking about, dude. They've got like 8 dogs. Just, yeah, you probably couldn't see them from where, I don't, unless they looped around this back part and I didn't notice, but you know, a few different types of dogs, but definitely some very large poodles. And I love the idea of the large dogs where people avoid it, but but you'll see, I guess, right? Like I'm saying, just all that we show of what it really is. People are afraid of large dogs, okay? Again, advocating for that. They're not scary, bro. I mean, a lot of times, oh my gosh, I'm like uncomfortable with how awesome this is. Because, man, I mean, you kind of can't take a little dog everywhere. And since that's our whole goal is do everything type of dogs, right? Well-versed, well-rounded, we have to have standard sized dogs to be able to really, really go everywhere. Okay, I'm not talking down on smaller dogs, really, but in times, yeah, there's only things that certain size dogs could do that other ones couldn't. Oh my gosh. Well, cause yeah, dude, the mountains, bro. I'm looking at this big mountain over here. All right, a lot of it's the location we're in as a company too, where we're gonna have access to stuff like this. And with things getting just so much more unnatural nowadays, okay, just more worldly, more man-made, it's going to be almost like a lifeline for some people. That's what I'm saying. Even the videos, right, where you live in a city and you just love scenery of mountains and stuff, check out In the Image Clothing Company Poodles and watch our videos where we have poodle parade events and any other events we end up having, right? Conservation type stuff. We're going to get into so much. I'm not making claims, but that's why I'm saying it now, is so that when it happens, you'll be like, oh yeah, all right, I see what he was doing, right? With his founding at the beginning, yeah. You know, you'll be able to sit there at your house in like your city block, and maybe you don't get to go out to nature that often, but you really do enjoy watching videos of other people doing it. Kind of living vicariously, you know. Ideally you can get out there when you can, but You know, sometimes maybe there's just moments when you're not able to. We're gonna do so much, bro. Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, man. Poodles generally like water, right? Every dog's individual, but because this is what yeah, right. Pollution. Okay, like I'm saying, advocating for other things through dogs. When we have events where we bring poodles to In the Image Clothing Company Poodles stuff, poodle parades, yes, one of the things, right? Man, we're just gonna have more events than that, more than just simplistic like getting together and hanging out with dogs. It's like we can go around and pick up trash and advocate for it, right? Like we go to a river somewhere, walk, through or down the riverbed, bring the dogs, picking up trash, again, filming it yourself, and then under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, we can film it ourselves, and people can, reference In the Image Clothing Company Poodles with, where they are at these events when they're doing cool stuff for the environment, and they're with cute, fun dogs, and we'll have good people around us, because the people that are into the stuff that we're into are people who like the earth, and people who like dogs, people who like natural things and nature, so, oh my gosh. Just don't say that I changed up, right? When it comes down to it, and we're doing some things that maybe people weren't expecting from what they thought we were at the beginning. This is what we are, bro. And it's big. So I love that, right? Like we can just take bags with us and each have like a bag and pick up trash, and we can really advocate for, picking up after your own trash, bro, not littering, helping the environment. And the cool thing is the dogs are like team members, man. The goal is natural. And then we're in the Image Clothing Company clothing while we do it, and so our bodies are allowed to work. No joke. That's the point of In the Image Clothing Company clothing. It's for the body's function. It's not for fashion or for anything like that. Wind noise, right? Natural. Okay. Yeah. This is as real as it gets, bro. This is what I mean. So there you go. And this also, right? Just sitting on the floor, sitting on the earth, sitting on the grass out here, just talking about things as it is, right? And so we're not trying to be all professional. We're trying to be properly doing things, and we just do it well, okay? Yeah, dude. So this is the thing, right? This is where our dogs are coming from, is from this like realm, if you will, this side of things, this approach. Natural, okay? Yeah. Neutral, natural, normal, I say, are synonyms in the human body and its natural function. Same with the dogs, right? Letting dogs stay natural, bro. Letting dogs have a lot of beautiful experiences. Dogs love it outside, bro. They would just be outside if it wasn't for us. It's good in times for them to be inside, but man, because that's the other thing. You've got some dogs that are just bred through bloodlines of dogs that have always been inside, and some dogs are just afraid of outside, and it's like in their blood because of where their ancestors have been selected through. So natural, bro. All right. So like I said, it's the 6th of June, 2025. See that, realize that is what I'm saying. That's why I'm making these videos in depth, and as long as I make them, I talk about things as thoroughly as I do. We're not gonna try to like one day think, we need to change. It's always about getting back to basics. It's always about God and his earth and his creations, the way that he created them to be. And sometimes we have to like learn along our own life journey of how to even be that, when that's all that we ever could be, but we've just been so unnatural and so altered in ways, right? Man. So there you go, okay? There's a lot to breeding poodles. All right, this video is titled that. It's kind of one of those like gem type videos where by the title you probably wouldn't have expected all this to be in here. There's a big old vulture up here, man. That's a big bird. It's like a 6 or 7 foot wide bird, dude. Big bird. Anyway, stick around, okay? And so with playing the long game, this is what I mean, where our content, there's a dragonfly, dude. Just hanging out. This is what I mean. This is our content. This is the whole thing about that podcast episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Context over content. You can make all the content you want that's like applying to a certain time period. We're just making documentations. We're just showing life as it is in our experience of it behind what we are and who all is a part of In the Image Clothing Company and all 4 sides of it, okay? So here you go. Poodles. Expect it. I know how shocked myself and everybody's going to be with all that this becomes, okay? Big things start from nothing, dude. All it takes is a faith, the grain of a mustard seed, and all of a sudden it's one of the biggest, trees or plants or things that can grow. And that's what this is. It's faith that we can still serve God by trying to be in the world and not of the world, right? A lot of modern products come up and say, do this, do that for your dogs, and it's some new scientific breakthrough. And no, dogs are healthiest when they're natural, okay? So we're getting back to that. We're staying there when we are already there, right? And furthering what it means to really know how to be natural, how to not avoid in a bad way, but stay out of the unnatural things, especially as more things pop up, and people get more and more lost with what it really means to just be as we are as beings, dogs and humans, okay, on this earth. So there you go. My name's Evan Strong. Remember it, bro, because of what we're gonna do, okay, and because of what everybody and every dog will get from what we do under the company that I have founded, In the Image Clothing Company, okay? So stick around, please. Please. I'm not pleading for my sake. I'm pleading for what we do. We make something, you guys share it. Now other people and other people benefit from something that we did because of you guys. You see that? It's a compounding effect when we really get people on board with truth. And that's crazy to say because it's the only thing that doesn't change. So thank you.